Velasco, and thank you for reading.
Manny Pacquiao, I told, I don't think there'll be a problem for Manny.
As it scares their fights. But every once in a while, the mind can also be controlled and nothing.
Only here para sa bayan.
And that's the opening bell for Round by Round presented by Eastern Communications. Mabuhay Pilipinas! Welcome world! I'm Nisi Casiano.
And I'm attorney Ed Tolentino. Joining us later is our good friend, Bill Velasco.
If Nonito Donaire and John Riel Casimiro had kissed and made up, it's a different story when it comes to Nonito Donaire and MP Promotions Chief Sean Gibbons. It seems there is no love lost between the two as Gibbons went on a social media tirade. Meanwhile, Donaire invited Gibbons into a live discussion on their YouTube channel. However, the promoter refused to go live with Donaire and his wife, Rachel. Attorney Ed, if we're going to look at the track record of Sean Gibbons as a promoter, he played a part in promoting two all-Filipino world title fights in the last 3 years. The first one was the Jerwin Ancas versus Jonas Sultan fight in 2018. The second was the Pedro Taduran versus Samuel Salva last year. It feels odd na hindi matuloy-tuloy itong Casimiro versus Donaire. Attorney Ed, based on what we see, dun sa facts, dun sa mga conversations, dun sa back and forth, do you think Sean Gibbons doesn't want to do business with Nonito Donaire?
Alam mo, magulo itong issue na ito, no, between Donaire and Sean Gibbons. Akala nga natin close chapter na eh. Di ba supposedly nagkabati na si Casimiro at si Donaire. And then all of a sudden si Donaire naman at saka si Gibbons. I think ang pinag-ugatan nito, remember, yung kaso ni General Casimiro kung saan yung first bid sa laban niya kay Paul Butler, ang nagbid ay ang Probellum. At nakuha niya sa napakababang presyo, I think 105,000 lamang.
Correct.
No?
Tama.
Oo, napakababa. And remember, itong si Nonito Donaire Jr. is affiliated with Probellum. Sapagkat nakapirma siya doon, kasama siya doon sa Probellum. And then before that, sinabi niya na gusto niya tulungan si General Casimiro by having him also affiliated with Probellum. Eh syempre affiliated naman itong si General Casimiro sa MP Promotions, which is of course headed among others by Sean Gibbons. So nagkakaroon ngayon ng konting komplikasyon. Kaya na siguro sinabi ni Gibbons, bad advice for Casimiro to go with the Donaires kasi nga ang lumalabas parang may kinalaman ba sino nito Donaire Jr. dito sa nangyaring first bid. Sa laban ni Butler at ni Casimiro, which of course was won by Probellum. Kung saan affiliated si Nonito Donaire Jr. Ano? So, iyon ang mga haka-haka. Pero tingin ko naman, ang kaso talaga dito, wala nagbid nanalo ang Probellum wala iba nagbid. Wala masyadong interes sa laban. Ayun nga lamang, with Casimiro saying that he will join Probellum, yun ang sinabi ng kanyang kapatid, and most likely he will be bolting out MP Promotions, may issue dyan. May issue dyan. Kasi klarado na ba ang kontrata ni Casimiro sa MP Promotions as in he can easily bolt out and go to Probellum? Kaya siguro sinasabi ni Sean Gibbons, teka muna, mukhang nagkakaroon ng pinapirate nyo yung talent ko. Ano? Parang ganun na nangyayari. Ngayon sasabihin niya, pupunta ka sa Probellum. Kung yan ang magiging promoter mo, dito pa nga lang sa first bid, binarat ka na 105,000 lang ang binigay sa'yo, tapos pupunta ka pa doon. Hindi ba? Parang yun ang sinasabi ng ilang mga boxing fans. So, they do not know what is really the real score here. Because even Casimiro, meron na rin mga gripes kay Gibbons at sa MP Promotions. May mga sinabi na siya na may mga kontrata daw siya na pinipresenta ni Gibbons na parang hindi klarado sa kanya. Ano, may mga statement ng binitawan si Casimiro ganito. Ano, so sana magkaayos itong MP Promotions, Sean Gibbons at si Casimiro. But the thing is, if he is really headed to Probellum, itong si Casimiro, ay issue yan. Sapagkat maaari na maging suspetsa ni Shin Gibbons, pinirate ang Probellum through Donaire si Casimiro. Parang gano'n, ano? So, magulo. Maganda sana kung ginrant ni Shin Gibbons yung audience na hinihingi ni Nonito Donaire para magkaliwanagan. Pero mukhang hindi pa matutuloy as of now. Instead, sabi mo nga, tirades sa social media nangyayari.
Attorney Ed, napakagulo nitong situation ni John Riel Casimiro kasi representative niya, MP promotion, samantalang he is also under contract under dun sa promotion ni Tom Brown na TGB promotions. And yun nga, nabanggit mo nga na TGB, kahit nga promoter ni Paul Butler, hindi nakasama. Hindi sumali dun sa first bid. Pero balikan natin tong issue. There are rumors that Casimiro and Gibbons are not in good terms even after the Rigundo fight. And we got a bit of hint when Joven Jimenez, the trainer of Jerwin Ancajas, uploaded a clip of Gibbons somewhat taking a swipe at Casimiro kasi nandun si Jonas Sultan eh. Do you feel it's one of the reasons why MP Promotions did not join the first bid of the Casimiro versus Butler fight? Labas dito yung Probellum, ha?
Alam mo, ito nga masakit dito, Nisi eh. Kung ikay pinroteksyonan ng iyong promoter, dapat hindi na umabot sa first bid yung Butler versus Casimiro.
Totoo.
Dapat isinalba ka na ng promoter mo, hindi ba? Kasi ang boksingero, wag na tayong mag-first bid, malulugi ako dyan eh. Kasi winning bidder lang yan eh. Walang pre-play when it comes to negotiation. So nakakapagtaka na walang moves na ginawa ang kanyang promotions para maiwasan ng first bid. Ang masakit pa dito, nung mapunta na sa first bid, hindi pa rin nag-bid yung promotions niya. Na-affiliated siya. So hinayaan na makuha ng Probellum at a bargain price ang labang Butler at Casimiro. So doon pa lang nakikita natin, parang may problema. May problema ang MP Promotions through Shin Gibbons and John Riel Casimiro. May issue na kailangang ayusin nila. Nadadrag lang itong si Nonito Donaire Jr. kasi identified siya with Probellum. Probellum ang nakakuha ng laban. And there were reports before that Donaire is trying to help, quote and unquote, Casimiro to get into Probellum. Bakit mo kukunin sa Probellum kung wala namang problema sa MP Promotion si Casimiro, hindi ba? May problema. Kaya pilit na hinihimas ng isa na mapunta sa kabilang promotions. So there are a lot of issues really going on that na kinakailangan ma-settle ni Casimiro at I think mas mabigat yung Casimiro at saka Gibbons. Mas mabigat yung problemang kinakaharap ng dalawang ito.
Attorney Ed, Casimiro insisted that he never received any contract to sign. It was documented in a YouTube conversation between Casimiro and Donaire. Casimiro even blamed Gibbons for not sending him the contracts, which he would have immediately signed to make the fight with Donaire happen. Yun ang sabi niya. Now, in the newly furnished contract, Donaire stated that part of the agreement states that no trash talking is allowed, and both boxers are required to undergo regular and random drug testing from training camp to fight day. By the looks of it, money is not the problem. Casimiro already agreed that there's no need to sell the fight by talking smack. So, alisin na natin yon. But it makes me think that it's the drug testing. What do you think, Attorney Ed?
Alam mo, ito nga ginigit ni Nonito Donaire, may kontratang pinadala sa'yo. Ang ginigit ni Casimiro, kung talagang may kontrata, handa akong pumirma. In fact, he even said he is willing to undergo drug testing. Sabi niya kahit araw-araw. Ngayon, for some reason, yung kontrata na ito na sinasabi ni Donaire, parang in transit, either hindi nakarating o nawawala dito kay Casimiro. Ang problema, sa ganito klaseng sitwasyon, ang napapasama si Casimiro. Okay? Kasi napapasama parang, ano ba, meron ka bang itinatago tungkol sa mga drug issues? Siya tuloy napapasama, itong si John Riel. Ilang malabas, willing naman ako magpates. Yun ang sabi ni John Riel. Walang problema sa akin yung bada. So, para bakit ganun? Napakasimpleng bagay ito. Kontrata lang. nasa digital age na tayo. Pwedeng bayad digital, mapirmahan ng kontrata Bakit ganoon? So kailangan iklaro ni Casimiro sa handlers niya, sabi ni Donaire, may kontrata daw. Nasaan yung kontrata? Ilabas nyo dahil ako napapahiya. Akala nila iwas po ako sa drug testing. Handa naman akong pumirma at gusto kong makalaban si Donaire. I think the best guy who can answer that is Gibbons. Was there a contract that was sent to you? So who is really now trying to preempt a fight between Donaire and Casimiro? That could be a big money fight, But here's the bigger angle. That could be a big money fight that can happen under Probellum at hindi MP promotions. Okay? So, kaya ayaw matuloy ang laban? Sapagkat it will not be under MP promotions. Because at the rate things are going now, Nisi, nakikita mo, papuntang Probellum. Ang bakbakang Donaire at Casimiro. Mawawala ang MP promotions sa equation. Baka kaya nawawala yung kontrata. Hindi, maraming, di ba? Nakikita mo na yung lumalabas. Yung lumalabas na picture, maraming dapat sagutin ang mga partido dito.
Yun yung silver lining na nakikita natin, Attorney Ed, because the winner of the first bid for the next fight of Casimiro was Probellum. And now, it's no-brainer kasi Donaire is under Probellum and maganda yung working relationship ni Nonito Donaire with Richard Schaefer. Now, does that give you hope that maybe next year, we will see these two finally go at it or mas nakikita mong makikialam ang MP promotions?
Maaring makialam ang MP promotions, lalo na kung may buhay pang kontrata itong si General sa kanila. Kasi nga, the way things are going, sabi ko nga, papuntang Probellum ang Casimiro versus Donaire. In fact, ang plano nga, di ba, baka mag-appear pa sila in the same card.
Yes, in December.
Hindi ba? Under Probellum. Hindi ba? Baka mababa ang bid ng Probellum. Sabi, sige, 105,000 lang. Pero here's the catch. What if, punta ka sa amin, pag natuloy yung Donaire Casimiro, triple bibigay namin sa'yo. Hindi ba? Ito yung mga scenarios Pero makikialam ang MP promotions dyan. Dahil nakikita ko nga, with the way things are going, nabubura sa equation itong MP promotions. Parang yung picture sa Back to the Future ni Michael J. Fox ng kanyang pamilya. Nawawala yung isa. Yun ang MP promotions. So, kailangan iklaro kasi as far as Casimiro's camp is concerned, sabi ng kapatid niya, mukhang papunta na silang Probellum. Pero Sin Gibbons might say, wait a minute, kaping mainit. Meron ka pang kontrata sa amin. Ito muna ang i-honor mo. Hindi kaya yan ang dahilan kung bakit they want to preempt Casimiro versus Donaire? Because nagkakaroon na ng issue between Casimiro and Gibbons. And nobody wants, kasi malaking pera kapag Casimiro Donaire natuloy. This is a big money fight. This is a big money fight. Yan ang mga scenarios dito.
It's time for our Fearless Forecast brought to you by Eastern Communications. One of the most anticipated fights at 130 pounds is set to happen on October 23 at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, as Jamal Herring puts his WBO Super Featherweight Championship on the line against Shakur Stevenson. Wala nang paligoy-ligoy pa. Attorney Ed, your fearless forecast on this fight.
Gandang laban, parehong magaling na boksingero, but I'm going for Shakur Stevenson. Tingin ko maganda ang depensa, maganda ang kanyang ring generalship. Pero buhay na underdog itong si Herring sapagkat lately nagpipick siya at parang nagde-develop na yung kanyang punching power, particular kay Frampton. Pero tingin ko, Shakur will take this fight by decision.
And that's our Eastern Communications Fearless Forecast of the Day. Jim Pacquiao had the chance of a lifetime in meeting Saul Canelo Alvarez and made the best out of it when he stepped in the ring for a training session. Now, the eldest son of legendary boxer Manny Pacquiao entered Alvarez's secret boxing gym in San Diego, California, and showed glimpses of the talent that his father had. Attorney Ed, makikita naman kay Jimwell na desidido siya to improve his craft. And nagpaiwan pa nga ito sa Amerika after the Dennis Tugas fight. Masipag na nag-iensayo sa wildcard gym with Marvin Somodio. But will you agree with me that training with other group of fighters is a step in the right direction in terms of his development as a boxer?
Absolutely, I agree with you. Lalo na pagkasama mo si Canelo Alvarez, you cannot go wrong with these guys. They know boxing. At saka yung kanilang landscape mo talaga maganda. Gusto mong boxing? Then surround yourself with boxing people. It cannot be denied na ang boxing ay nasa bloodline ni Jimwell. It is in the bloodline, but is it also in the punchline? Yan ang gusto nating makita. Ano? Kasi pag tinignan mo nisi yung history ng mga father and son sa boxing,
Yes.
usually yung son hindi nagtatagumpay. Kasi yung anak, born with a silver spoon eh. Hindi katulad ng tatay, walang-wala eh. Di ba si Manny Pacquiao, walang-wala. Si Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., walang-wala. Nung bago naging legend. Yung mga anak nila, puro established eh. May kaya na ang pamilya. So, magandang hamon ito para kay Jimwell to prove na I can be as hungry as my old man Manny Pacquiao. But malaking hamon. Hindi po ganun kadali ang papasukin ni Jimwell. But hats off tayo sa batang ito because right now, it appears he's willing to make the necessary sacrifices to make it big, to cover a name sa pro boxing.
Attorney, do you think it's much better for Jimwell Pacquiao to stay in the US if he decides to turn pro?
Absolutely. Nandun ang mabibigat na sparring partner. At unang-una, less distraction. Pag nandito ka, maraming distraction dito eh. Mga kaibigan, barkada, o love life mo, magulo pag nandito ka. Doon ka na lang. Mas maganda. You cannot go wrong by staying in the United States. Nandun eh. Yun ang meka ng boxing eh. So for me, the young man is making all the right moves sa kanyang attempt na to make good in pro boxing. Stay there. That's where the boxing hotbed is.
Attorney Ed, Jimwell is 20 years old if I'm not mistaken. By boxing standard, medyo matanda na to. Pero if you're the handler, mas pipiliin mo bang babarin ito si Jimwell sa amateurs in the US for at least 2 years before transitioning to the pros kesa isabak mo kaagad? Kahit sabihin natin na he's training in a world-class facility like the Wildcard Gym and now he's learning under the guide of Eddie Reynoso.
Alam mo, tama ka eh. Ang natural route talaga, amateur muna. So you can fine-tune your grasp of the fundamentals. Pero kung edad na lang pag-uusapan natin ni Jimwell, medyo nagmamadali na yung bata. Medyo pinapast track na. I don't think he's willing to invest time in the amateur rank. So if a fast track na lamang with Reynoso, with Alvarez, all these people trying to help him out, sana nga, ganun ang mangyari. It will all boil down if he's a fast learner. How much lessons can he soak in from these great boxing individuals? If he is a fast learner, meron iba naman kasi talagang natural na. Forget amateur, diretso ka na. But it's going to be a very high risk move. Kasi iba yung dumaan sa amateur eh. Yun nga ang purpose ng amateur para maging pulido ang iyong estilo to prepare you for the pro ranks. But the young man is in a hurry. He is in a hurry and he wants to, nandun yung Pacquiao name medyo mainit pa eh. So idiretso mo na yung plano. It's a risky move the way I see it. Pero basta focus yung bata, very interesting itong kanyang venture na ito.
Attorney Ed, kung ikaw papipiliin, saan mo mas makikita si Jimwell Pacquiao? Of course, syempre, maganda na nasa Wildcard Gym. Parang bahay eh. Parang bahay mo na, parang ika mo, komportable ka na. Pero it's the same pyesa na ibibigay din. Kung ano yung binigay kay Manny Pacquiao, yun din ang ibibigay kay Jimwell Pacquiao. Of course, hindi mo mahihiwalay yung comparison. Now, do you think it's much better for him to stay with Team Canelo? Now you have Oscar Valdez. You even have Ryan Garcia. At least pareho ng age group na pwedeng relatable sa kanilang dalawa. What do you think?
Ako wala masama if he will stay with these people. Kasi alam mo ang problema kasi yung mga anak na boxer usually kinokopya ang style nung tatay. Remember si Chavez, si Junior, ang laki-laking boksingero, tapos kung lumaban, parang tatay niya, maliit, kubkubado kung lumaban. So, with these guys, Reynoso, Canelo, perhaps they can dissect ano bang style na bagay dito kay Jimwell. Ano? Kasi, okay, go back to Freddy Roach, wildcard. Tuturo sa niya kung ano tinuro kay Pacquiao eh.
Totoo.
Di ba? Yun ay tuturo na. Ito tatay mo. Your father was like this. I'll teach you like the way I taught your dad. So maganda yung ibang kampo naman. Tingnan mo. Ibang putahin naman na titingin dito kay Jimwell Pacquiao at makikita nila, no. You have your own style. Ito ang kalakasan mo. You develop this. You do not have to be like your dad. Develop your own strengths. Ano? And for all you know, ibang klase rin ng weakness mo. Ano? So, mas maganda para sa akin. Kasi pag sa wildcard kay Roach, he will try to make him as a Pacquiao clone. And the young man might want to cast his own shadow. Baka yun ang gusto ni Jimwell. So, mas maganda para sa akin. Tingnan siya ng ibang trainer. Tingnan siya nung unbiased, as is. Anong pwedeng i-develop ko sa'yo? Tingnan natin. Without the legend of Manny Pacquiao hanging above their heads. Si Jimwell lang ang tingnan para sa akin.
Attorney Ed, banggit mo na nga ito. Sa maraming aspeto, magkaiba sila Jimwell at Manny. And one of the things na wala si Manny sa edad ngayon ni Jimwell ay yung tinatawag natin valuable resources. Let's put it that way. Do you think that's enough to be Jimwell's foundation to put in the miles if he really wants to pursue a boxing career?
Alam mo, para sa akin, it will all boil down to Jimwell mismo. How bad do you want it? Are you in this for the long haul? Sapagkat baka naman nakala mo iti laro-laro lamang, ay pwede kang madisgrasya dito. So, forget that he is the son of the legend. Tanungin niya ang kanyang sarili. Are you willing to go the extra rounds? And the thing is, para sa akin, nakita naman ni Jimwell yung tatay niya eh. Nakita niya yung extra efforts ng kanyang tatay in training, in the road work, and everything. So, palagay ko, nakita niya, ay, gagayahin ko. Pag kinopya mo ang work rate ni Manny Pacquiao, unbelievable yan. Pero siguro, nakita naman ng bata na you have to make sacrifices. Walang shortcut. Ano? So, si Jimwell ang magdedetermine ito. Siya mismo, excluding everyone else. Sapagkat, sabi ko nga, pag tunog ng kampana ni siya lang mag-isa ang aakyat sa ring. And everybody else, they stay in their respective corners. Siya lang mag-isa. So kung hindi buo yung kanyang mindset, kung hindi talaga focused, delikado. So he has to do it for himself.
For our next segment, we turn it over to Bill Velasco.
Thanks, Nisi and Ed. So, Clarissa Shields challenges Jake Paul to a fist fight, an actual boxing match. And let's bear in mind that Clarissa Shields is not any bitter feminist, ordinary Joe off the street. She is a two-time Olympian, a medalist. She's been a world boxing champion. She has been a multiple champion, in fact. And given the state of women's boxing in the United States and around the world, women are not earning as much. They're not getting as much attention as the men are. And this may be one way for her to get that for her gender. Now, the question is, should women and men be fighting in the ring against one another? Well, the traditional stereotype is that men are hunters, women are gatherers. Men physically are more top heavy, whereas women have a lower center of gravity for potential birth. And that's the way that people used to look at women. But as we've seen, ever since women were allowed into the Olympic Games in the first place, that women can and often do hold their own against men. There are several sports, actually, where women can and do compete directly against men. You have horse racing, you have darts, you have, of course, the equestrian sports, and other sports such as sailing and motorcycle racing. Now, in the Olympic Games, specifically the Winter Olympics, there is a sport called the biathlon, which combines downhill skiing with rifle shooting. And that is one category wherein women directly compete against men. You may have heard of the original battle of the sexes between top-ranked tennis player Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. And Bobby Riggs was definitely the underdog in that match and drew the short end of the stick simply because he was much, much older than a prime Billie Jean King. In more recent years, in 1998, the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena, said they could beat any man ranked out of the top 200 in tennis. Well, they didn't. Karsten Brash, who was ranked 203rd in the world, accepted the challenge and beat both of them. And they both admitted that chasing down shots and getting the shots fired back at them was much harder than they had originally anticipated. But what about combat sports? Have there really been situations where men and women have fought in the ring or in other combat arenas? In 1997, Martin O'Malley, then an up-and-coming boxer, had a manager called Bob Jarvis who wanted to set up a fight with Christy Martin to get his boxer some additional exposure and some mileage. And of course, as we've talked about on the show, Christy Martin was already a big name in boxing. Isa po siya sa mga nakilalang nanguna, no, para sa mga kababaihan sa larangan ng professional boxing. Well, it was quite difficult for them to even pin down Don King to get this match set up. And it was next to impossible over the next 2 years. Then, 2 years later, they encountered Margaret McGregor, who was a fighter from Washington, and she was willing to fight Hector Morales, one of the fighters that they handled. Unfortunately, after the press conference, Morales, citing personal reasons, decided to back out from the fight. Instead, his trainer, Lloyd Chow, decided to step in, and the fight was held October 9, 1999. And to this day, that is really the most known first contact between men and women inside the boxing ring. Now, all things considered, are men and women equal, given that they'd be the same weight going into the ring as in traditional boxing matches? It's hard to say. But should they be fighting each other in the ring? Frankly, I don't think so, because, you know, this whole Clarissa Shields thing is basically to show that Jake Paul is not really a boxer. He's just getting all this undue attention and money, which women boxers who put in the same amount of hard work should be getting. That's my crash course on men versus women in the boxing ring. Back to you, Nisi and Ed.
Thanks, Bill. And that's the final bell for today's episode of Round by Round, presented by Eastern Communications. I'm Nisi Casiano.
And I'm Attorney Ed Tolentino. Do not forget, follow Round by Round every 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. And on YouTube thereafter. Do not forget, like and subscribe. Feel free to click that notification bell para updated kayo sa mga fearless views at forecasts sa mundo ng boxing.
Boyet Season, Ryan Songalia, and Dennis Principe are working the fights for you tomorrow, so catch them on the next Round by Round. All boxing, all Filipino, all the time. See you tomorrow.